Hey, hi Bernard at Varda. Am I audible?
Hi, Subhash. Yes, I can hear you.
Hi Bernard. How are you?
I just came back from a business trip, so I am a bit tired, but that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, we were missing you from last 2 weeks.
Yeah, sorry for that.
Hey, no problem. Actually, we last before 1 week actually we went for the review in work group 3. So we got some feedback and now we are working on it. So again, I reworked on the document and I tried to focus on one specific use case so that at least something we can deliver for the R3. So that way I modified it. And yeah, of course, it's like last document actually, uh, the work group 3, they considered that it's a vision and we need to narrow down to some use case. So yeah, with that I'm doing it.
Yeah, that I sort of seen that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, hi team.
Hi guys.
Yeah. Yes, let's wait for another 3 minutes so that folks could join. I will start after that. Uh, yeah, hi everyone. So we crossed the 3 minutes. So let's start today's meeting. Today is February 8th, and we are discussing on the topic of the work group 5 related aspect, the service assurance. So as I have planned agenda here, let me share my screen. Yep. Yeah. Please let me know if my screen is visible. Could someone please confirm?
Looks good.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so today we have planned few items. So the first one, we will talk about the user story on the impact analysis. So recently, actually, Bernard was working on this particular topic, and he was helping us to create this user story. And he has added some implementation or some required functionalities, those aspects in this document. So we'll go through it. And another topic, the second topic is our service assurance framework. So before 2 weeks, we went for the review on this particular document. So I called it the version 1. And this we consider actually with a larger scope. It is a kind of a vision because we try to cover a lot of aspects. And now we narrow down to the use case on the ODU bandwidth assurance. That was the use case 3 in the first version of the document. And yeah, last week also we agreed that we will work on the we will start the work on the POC just to prove that it's like how the UPF could scale it. So those were the case 1 and case 2 in the version 1 document. But yeah, today I'll try to take you through the version 2, so that I already had opened for the review to everyone, and tomorrow I'll take this document for the review in the work group 3. And the last item, we will discuss on the observability aspects, like how they are progressing. And also recently I tried to join those meetings, and I discussed a few items. So along with Stephen, we'll try to go on this topic. So let's start with our first topic, the impact analysis. So Bernard, would you like to take us through this particular user story? Like what are the updates, or shall I share the screen? Would it be okay?
No,
or would
I
you...
can share this. I would share the screen if that's
Okay.
okay.
Okay,
And
perfect.
also try to sort of motivate a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Approach.
I'll stop sharing.
And sort of, okay.
Yep.
So let me see if I can share them now. My screen. Okay. I hope you can see sort of the user guide from Nefio. Is that the case?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, very good. So following situation, and I'm now sort of coming from the perspective of a telco operator. We have this sort of flow of artifacts in some kind of supply chain procedure where we obtain the artifacts from the vendors, sort of enrich them with information, and at some point hand them over to the actual deployment. And this is sort of here after the propose and approve phase. Basically all the automation kicks in, and the deployment via config sync is sort of handled, and sort of the changes are then applied to the actual workload clusters or others. So the thoughts here are that based on this package notion, sort of the intent sort of expressed by the DevOps team of telco operators is sort of defined until sort of this proposal and approval phase has taken place. That means the humans here, I hope you can see my mouse pointer, the humans are sort of editing the package descriptions and all that stuff. And then based on the KPT function and all that, so all those things, there might be modifications which then would be approved and handed over to production. That's the rough understanding. Now, if the elements sort of which are listed in the package are one-to-one sort of monitored, then everything is fine. Basically, what we are sort of defining in the packages is what we would be expecting to be monitored. But I sort of typically see that the packaging of these network functions is something which is sometimes a little bit, how should I say, indirect. That means sort of we've got this notion of a package and we say this is what we actually intended to sort of deploy. But within those packages, there are substructures and dependencies, and sometimes also dynamically created additions, which also might have an impact on the overall sort of performance or stability of a solution. And therefore, when we're doing the monitoring, we would want to understand which are those elements which have to be accounted in addition. And the idea was that if we've got this configuration as code approach, we would make use of these configurations and would use KPT functions, which would augment or modify the package contents, but potentially also enrich package contents or fan out package contents to account for the requirements of the DevOps teams. And these automated procedures, if they are introducing new concepts and new elements, these dependencies and these additions should be accounted for. And that's why, in this context, we would want to understand, for instance, if we've got a free 5GC and sort of there are some additions made to, let's say, the UDM, UDR components, but not to others, and something goes wrong. And these additions to the UDM and UDR component might expose a failure, that we have the possibility to identify which of those elements are affected and which other elements might not be affected. So this is sort of what we regard to be sort of relevant for this impact analysis approach. That means based on that, we can see, do we have sort of if we've identified an issue with one element, what would be the impact to the sort of the packages which we sort of are knowledgeable of, and vice versa. Sort of if we want to see if a certain function is still available or running well, we would want to know if there are any sub-entities which are related to that, if they are sort of affected. That's the basic idea of the impact analysis story. And that was also the reason for this user story. Yeah, when we've got a DevOps team, it specifies a high-level intent in this context, so in form of a package. And during the processing of that package via configuration as a code, KPT functions, there might be the situation where additional elements are sort of added, and we would like to account for that. And therefore, from an implementation perspective, sort of we've got following sort of guideline which we would like to see. If there are KPT functions which modify packages and which dynamically derive or create new additional resources or custom resources, or which associate other resources with one another, then these sort of KPT functions should also document that in sort of the spec by saying sort of there are derived dependencies which sort of have been added to this sort of main resource. And here, sort of as an example, you would see that there's a section within that in that spec which says, look here, we've sort of now linked this resource with another resource. We could also say relationship. So I don't care about this name which we're giving here, but basically there's a list of entities which sort of have a relationship then with this resource based on the KPT transformations. And if we've got this information available in the deployment repo, so I just want to go here. So in this deployment repo then, yeah, then it's very easy to create a query function which simply scans through the resources of a namespace and then derives sort of the service tree or the dependency tree of all the elements which are related to one another, just by sort of looking to all those resources, looking into if there is a section in the spec which has these entries, and we can then, based on that, build sort of a model which defines which entities are related to one another. That is the first basic request which we believe is needed to facilitate then the impact analysis and root cause analysis.
We do that today already, Bernard. We do that, Edwin. We do that today already.
How? Because this is a generic approach. This would allow to do that in a very simplistic manner, no complicated solutions, no specific look here and look there approach, but sort of do that in a generic manner where we
If you look to the GEP file, it says all the steps and all the things that have been done to accomplish this outcome are added into that file. So you see all the sub-resources that have been used or are used to accomplish a certain output.
Okay, so if would it be possible? I'm just asking now from a sort of a perspective of those who are trying to create the query function, to specify sort of a simple rule of how to pass through all those elements to see and generate this dependency tree. If we've got a similar structure, if we've got a similar structure like this, then I'm fine.
What you have is the resource, the derived object, and a name, and then the cluster is part of the package. Yeah, so that's so the cluster is where the package basically has an indication of where it's deployed. So when you get a list of all the resources that are done or used.
Where's
now,
that
Could you
held
please,
at? Where the cluster?
Yeah. Could you please show that, Wim?
I mean, if you use R1 or R2, you see it in all the conditions that are part of a package. They are always. I don't have a live system right now, but you can.
Wim, is it the status or ready condition? So from there, could we derive
all the conditions with the status. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, but I really would like to have a specific description which says, if you are going to write a query function and you want to see the dependencies of all the elements, this is the place where you look, and based on that, we can write a simple query function to determine this impact.
The cap file. Cause analysis tree. Go to the cap file, and there is a status section.
Not to the cap file, as far as I've understood, is the instruction, but it's not sort of showing the results of the transformation of a package.
It has the status. It shows it shows the result of the transformation and the steps it took to do the transformation.
That means in the status of the kept file, you mean this information is kept?
Yes, yeah, and so there are all conditions for each steps and the result and so on.
My request would simply be, could you make an alternative proposal to say it's already there, we can make use of that, here's the place to look for, and based on that we can write a generic and simple query function to generate that tree. That's the basic idea. I'm not sort of wanting to have exactly this implementation. I just want to have a simple generic way of deriving the correlations between those different entities, as I've shown before.
Yeah, if you look to the cap file, it has that. But I don't have a live system, Bernard. But
please, I want to have this as a specification. Yeah, that means based on that, we can then say if we want to do a sort of a correlation of the sort of this intent which the DevOps have been developing and the transformations which have been derived from the cap files. This is the way of how you can calculate the dependency tree. That's the recipe I would like to have. And I don't want to see this sort of statement, look into the cap file, but I want to have a sort of a prescription which basically says how you exactly have to do that. Yeah, and if you could be so kind to just point out so exactly where to look, I'd be very happy to adopt this and then put that into this in this document.
Yeah, I need to set up a live system to give it to you. But I look at the CRD of the cap file; it has you will see it. But
yeah. So, but my just help me please, because sort of just to get that right. I see here.
What I'm trying to say is anyone can do that. Is what I'm trying to say, because I'm busy with lots of stuff.
That's fine. Yeah, but nevertheless, help us please to identify the exact location, because it wasn't obvious to me. Because I got the impression we get from the vendor a package, yeah, and then we got also from the cloud provider package, and then we try to sort of go through this hierarchy of modifications, and in the modification, basically, it could happen that we are not quite understanding sort of when we are handing over the information to the automation API, that there might be additional elements which have been added via the KPT functions, yeah, that these are then possibly sort of modifying the structure in such a way that we are not really aware of the elements which are crucial for monitoring and how they impact the rest of what we believed we have been deploying. Yeah, and this sort of, I want to really have a skeleton of information where I can directly associate the events and do then the event correlation in a much more meaningful manner.
Bernard, I have one sample that I can show you. Currently, it is a test case, so that has the conditions. So I can show you what exactly I think Wim means. He can explain.
Very
So
good.
would you like to?
Okay. But I just, yeah, if you can show that and Wim says that's it, then I'm fine.
Okay. Could I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me try that. So yeah, so here I just pulled out one NAT function. So it brings out the changes. If you're able to see my screen.
I'll just stop my presentation.
Okay.
Maybe yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see all the resources.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, states with conditions and the readiness gates.
Yeah, readiness gate actually, I don't think I will find here. Yeah, we don't have it
Go
here.
down. Go down.
Actually, I just opened the expected YAML file. So that is the one test case. So I don't think so.
You look at the test cases.
Yeah,
but there is okay. So that's because you don't have the full system yet. So there is readiness gates for each of them.
Yeah.
Who this what and stuff. There is a readiness gate for the approval controller and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
but here you see
so
all the derived resources.
What I would like to see is basically kind, name, cluster. This type of information.
There, right? So kind. So basically, if you look to the structure of the reason, it's group version kind, basically, but pointed as a string because we don't have so much space. So basically, that's group version kind and name.
Okay.
So it's all there, and then the cluster is basically you see it cluster number 1. It's all in the same file.
Yeah. I think you might find some annotations also there. You can see the cluster name. I think so. And also there's a workload. Yeah. This is the resource, right? Workload cluster. Oh, sorry.
Oh, but you see it at the top. You see name UPF cluster 1 and 4.
Cluster. Okay. Yeah.
So, and this is always, this convention is.
We use Kubernetes. So Kubernetes has this context of what they call readiness gate and conditions, right? And that's what we have been using from day one to convey that. And that's how you derive dependencies and the status of them as well, right? Because if you look to how specialization works, it's really, that's what I call the conditional dance, right? So in other words, what you typically do is you build a system and you say, okay, I'm 1, then you do step 2. If this complete, you do step 3, and then you do this. And so it's very imperative, if you will. But we didn't use that method. So we use the Kubernetes distributed mode. So what you do is basically, anyone can say, I am not done. In order to complete my job, I need this, right? So everything, so you could say is what I call a task is represented as a condition. So every job is represented as a condition, and there is one actor that acts upon that condition, right? So that's the system that we have. So in other words, I don't explicitly say that I need an interface, and an interface needs an IP address, and IP address needs a VLAN, and a VLAN, and so on. I don't do that. So basically, the interface says, I need a VLAN and an IP. How it gets done, I don't care. Someone will take care of it, right? That's the only thing that you have to take into account. And then the guy that acts upon it, so the guys that need it sets a condition. The guys that act upon it use the condition and sets the status of its accomplishment. And that's how people communicate. And that's the way that Kubernetes, if you look to how the scheduler work and how the replica sets work and how a bunch of stuff works under the hood, that's how they operate. And so we use that system in the same way, similar way.
So if
what
I
you
understand
see now
correctly,
is
So if I understand that correctly, please correct me, because I'm really interested in getting sort of a solution available for us. the KPT file is correlated with the package. In the
Yes.
implementation,
This is per package.
Yes, and if we've got a package and in this case, in the KPT file, the processing takes place, then basically the status is updated with these conditions.
Yeah.
And in the conditions, I see sort of the list of resources which are manipulated or sort of updated or changed in the context of the processing of the KPT definitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means based on that, I understand which elements are associated with the whole package.
Correct.
Yeah, but if the
correct.
package would now either I have to then segment, for instance, one package for AMF, one package for SMF, one package for UPF, etc., with dedicated KPT files, and then I have sort of per network function, for instance, such a dependency graph.
Yeah.
But if I'm putting that on the package level, all those relationships are basically packaged to all those elements. That means I can only say that the whole package is wrong, but I don't have the location if it's sort of affecting the AMF or SMF. This is something which I would have to do with other means.
Yeah, so in NF2 infra, we solved that problem, right? So that's what we are working on, is to basically get your overall dependency resolved, and even trying to automate that as much as we can. So but that will be on top of a package handling. So within a package, you have its dependency, because otherwise, so it's divide and conquer, right? So a package has to be contained by itself, right? And then you have relationship between packages. What you're describing, I think, is the relationship between packages and how they get established. So that's the thing that we are working on in NF2 infra to get that done. And then you see the relationship between the packages.
Okay, so what I see is that at least the relationship between package to resources, I can basically go to the KP file status and say all those potential resources are listed here in the conditions section. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and you have the group version kind name, and namespace is always the same as the thing. So we didn't want to go to different namespaces for now, but I mean, if that is the use case, we could.
Okay.
But at the moment, the namespace is kind of always the same. But so here you see group version kind and name, basically. Not namespace is obsolete, but if you look to the structure, so everything before the slash.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. So before the slash is the group, then the slash v1 alpha 1 is the version. The next thing is the kind, and the next thing is the name. That's the syntax.
Okay. Cluster was sort of as dash cluster. What was the naming convention there for that?
I think we either have it. So we either have it as an annotation, or it's part of the package, or it's part of the package itself. I don't think you see it in these test cases, because you see in the large system, you'll see it directly.
Yeah, I'll just open.
Because also the other thing that you have is that a package at the moment has a one-to-one relationship with the cluster. So that's another easy way to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. So here actually workload cluster details you can find.
Yeah. So fan out is not sort of regarded to be one of the processing steps, which we would then cover here. Yeah, that means that happens before, and we sort of do the approval for each individual cluster, and not sort of as a general approval then. It's not like we're saying sort of now,
so
please deploy.
that's another thing. See, that's another thing that we didn't go there as of now, right? But you could build a system that does a transaction across whole things, right? So that's something we haven't done yet, but that's easy. So that's something that you could do.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I need to drop in a couple of minutes, but
yes. So I would have just one request. Let's try to document that approach very consistently, in the sense of, if we want to sort of go for this implementation impact analysis aspect, we already have a proposal. This is sort of handled in the following way: by looking into the KPT file status and then processing that the information which is kept there sort of via a query function. And I can easily sort of address that. And basically, we would already have something which is nearly out of the box already there, and which can be then also presented as a side result, which is sort sort of just coming from the benefits of making use of the KPT approach. Don't you think that we could position that as a result already?
I mean, this is not okay. It's not necessarily tied to KPT. If what I'm trying to say, it's because we could build this with or without KPT. Yeah, we are using that at the moment, but it's independent of KPT, if you will.
Yeah, but sort of you have been just showing me a mechanism of KPT. Yeah, so that's why the other approach which I was proposing was a generic approach without KPT, where we're putting those information in the actual resources.
In the new work with the NF2 infra, we are trying to decouple it from KPT as well, right? But at the moment, this is what we have, is what I'm trying to say, right? So we are trying to make it independent of KPT going forward. But at the moment, it's so currently this is what we have done, is what I'm trying to say. And I think this is what you are looking for. That doesn't mean we cannot make it more independent and stuff like that, right? But we already have.
That's an improvement. Yeah, that's an improvement. But I just want to capture this information as a result of what we can now already do with this approach. So from a service assurance aspect, that is a valuable information which we could then use to sort of configure also all the service assurance procedures in addition to the better correlation of impacts, etc. So what we should do is we should try to document that properly. I would like to have you review that, Wim, and based on that, we can possibly also try to put that as a result of sort of something which we can promote also in the review in the release 3, just as a side effect. It doesn't mean that we have to have huge efforts in demonstrating that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will need to drop, unfortunately, but yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay. Yep. Sure. So, Bernard, would you like to add something on top of this user story, or shall we jump on the second one?
We should. No, that's fine. Homework for me is sort of try to update the documentation.
Okay.
And then also get the approval from you guys if that's sort of heading in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Bernard, for describing this user story. Now I'll jump on our second user story. So that is a service assurance loop that we are talking about, the ODU bandwidth assurance. So I'll jump on it. So I have already opened this document for the review, and last time actually we were just before going to the latest version. I'll just give an overview on it. So last time actually we went for the review on this particular service assurance framework. So there we tried to give the overall picture, like how the framework will work. But at the same time, we try to give some 4 kind of use cases. Case 1, NF scaling, and with HPA, and one is without HPA with some specific operator. So that last week we decided that let's try a POC on it. So that we will be doing in a parallel. And also there was some suggestion on the NF reconfiguration, so that I had documented in a complete detail, like how we could achieve the ODU assurance. And then I gave a version of it where it does not depend on the observability, because observability is currently not present. So that's why I came up with this idea. But parallelly, I'm discussing with the observability team. As I understand, we can do observability also on the DU, and we can collect those KPI parameters, and we can actually correlate the service assurance and the observability and achieve the assurance. So, but yeah, just sake of I mean, like just to propose for the R3, I tried to came up with the idea that we could realize it without observability, and if observability is available, then we can go with the observability. So that both the version I have it. So let me try to maximize it. Okay. Yes, for some reason I was not able to click it. Let me increase the font and reshare it once again. Just sorry for inconvenience. I'll just take 1 minute. Um, yeah. I hope it's much cleaner to see now. So yeah, so in this idea, actually, what I brought the change that one DevOps, which is responsible for configuring the SLA related configuration. So he will deploy one DU package, and yeah, we can assume that when we created the package controller will take it and hydrate it, and finally it will deploy the ODU in the workload cluster. So package is available in our cluster, package is available in the management cluster, and the instance of that package is got deployed in the workload cluster. Now DevOps, what he'll do, he will create one SA intent around the ODU because he would like to assure the bandwidth on the ODU. So once the SA controller will receive that intent, just jumping before this, would like to show you the model what I have prepared. The intent actually will capture the four things: what need to be observed, and what KPI I need to observe it, and who should be the what should be the action. So you can clearly see that my goal is bandwidth assurance. I'm target package rip. So where I'm giving which NF I need to observe it. So this is the related to ODU, and then I'll say what KPI I need to observe it, and I give the some condition like whenever it goes beyond the PRB utilization goes beyond the 50%. Then you need to take a action, and there is an actor list. So where I say that there could be a multiple actors who can act on the ANF for the reconfiguration. But this particular case, when I talk about the ODU, currently we are using only the single actor. So with this information, I'll go back to workflow. So once we create a service assurance intent, so then using the target package rep, we will query the Kube API about the objects related to ODU. Okay, and once we'll get that package, we'll parse it. We'll try to derive the service name, port, cluster name, name is everything. We'll try to resolve those information. Like these actually these are required for doing the for data collection. Okay, and then we'll prepare our actor package. So again, like actor package is provided by the DevOps for this particular use case. Like this package is responsible for package is responsible for assuring the bandwidth, and we will put the context of the ODU package in the actor, and finally we will deploy it. So it will be available in the workload cluster, and because we have packaged it with the service name and port numbers from where he need to take the KPI parameter, need to collect the parameters, KPI parameters. We'll start collecting those KPI parameters. But of course, you are observing that actor is doing a multiple job, like taking it is observing also and doing action if the PRB utilization is going beyond the 50%, right? So currently, just to avoid the dependency on the observability, actor is doing the multiple actor is performing the multiple roles, doing the observation also, and they are doing the action. So this is just for R3, and once we are able to achieve this and the observability is available, we will offload the work to the observability, and for this for the once the observability is available, that time we will fall on this particular flow diagram. So where actor would be collecting the PRB utilization from data lake. So you can see that the DU is pushing the PRB utilization to the data lake, and actor is receiving the KPI parameters from the data lake. And finally, the actor would be having the business logic or to how to configure the bandwidth. Okay. And yeah, of course, there's a one step we need to configure the observability based on the context derived from the ODU package. So that is also captured here.
Hey,
Ah,
Subash, just
yes.
real quick.
Yep.
Go back to the piece. So I think we're missing a step, just to let you know, right?
This one.
Go back. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So here, there's no way that, how does the ODU know to release the PRB utilization to an actor,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Okay.
So
Right.
there's a configuration that's got to happen to the ODU, tell them what and where to put it, right?
Mhm. Actually,
So you're
yeah,
missing that step.
yeah, of course. So currently, I actually I talked with Sagar, and I was asking him, is it possible that from OI ODU could we pull the PRB utilization? So he's going to he's confirmed that we can actually
Oh, I'm
pull
not
the
worried about I'm not worried about the metric. I said that there's a step between deployed and
right,
PRB utilization. So I deploy the actor, somehow the ODU, and you have that step in the general
right,
observability, right?
yeah,
Someone's got to tell someone.
right, right,
It has to either be the actor or
right,
the SA controller. I guess it's got
right,
the observability, but someone before it's the observability framework, right? So someone's going to tell the ODU,
right.
I need you to send this actor these metrics.
Yeah, of course, Tim. This part I understood.
Okay.
In this particular R3 aspect, I'm just saying that I confirm with Sagar that we could just pull the PRB utilization, but for answer
That's
for
fine. It
yeah,
still
yeah,
has to know what. Hang
yeah.
on.
I'm going there.
Still
I'm
has
going
to
there.
know what actor to send that to.
Mhm. Okay, okay, okay. You meant to say that in this particular diagram, how we'll configure the DU to pull the information. Is it?
How does the ODU know to send
Okay.
something to an actor that does not exist until he's
Yes, right,
deployed?
right. So you can see it here when we parse the ODU package, we will get the service name here. Actually, yeah, service name and port where from where we can derive the uh, file, maybe KPI parameter directly, or it is getting exposed, so that we can derive from the package itself. And actor would be just doing one HTTP request maybe, or some kind of gRPC call, and it'll try to fetch the PRB
All
utilization.
right, but obviously that's different than the observability framework. So I would
Yes, yes,
suspect there's a step that you want to document. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. So
Of
that
how you're going to do that.
yeah, for R3 we could take it as a caveat, but actual thing would happen like this. The observability need to yeah this step actually where we are informing the observability that we need on this NF we need so and so KPI parameter. Okay, so it becomes the observability's responsibility to configure the ODU, how to take the data, how to retrieve the KPI parameter and put in the data lake. And also if you go through the ORAN Alliance specification, so there is a OM, right? So there it configures the PM jobs to pull the data from the ODU, right? So you can assume that the SA controller is playing some sort of NFO and OM role, and he's trying to create one PM job within a PM job there, and the observability should do it, and he will configure the ODU to pull those performance metrics in the data lake. So those aspects we can bring after the R3. We can work on it exactly on the
But you
observability.
can't have, I'm not worried about observability. Said
Hmm.
we're not doing observability, but
Right.
even with the one that you
Hmm.
have to do the same thing. You have an observe ODU. Just going to use
Right.
that, right?
Yes.
Go back to the one that you're presenting.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
There should be an observe ODU somewhere
Yeah.
that goes somewhere. Where does it
Yeah.
go?
Actually,
It goes to the
yeah.
actor
Actually,
or it goes to
I
the ODU
yeah.
from the
Actually,
SA
I
controller?
clubbed everything in a actor. So
I know.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
and here. Mhm.
so you still need the observe ODU. You're gonna have to tell the actor to observe the ODU. And he
Right.
may very well then do the request. I'm not saying that that's not the way to do it. I'm just saying that you're missing a step. You're missing the
Yeah,
observe
yeah.
ODU.
Okay, okay.
So that's
Yeah,
all.
of course. So that I'll take at that point, and I'll just add those information here in this particular step. Okay. Actually, I conveyed the same idea in this step where I say, yeah. I prepare the actor package by injecting the required config for the actor, ODU service name, and the port for observations. So that I'm actually conveyed in this way, but yeah, I agree with your point.
Yeah, but you're going to have to establish you still need that line because
Yeah,
you're going to have to
yeah.
establish the
Okay.
request to set it up, right?
Yeah. Sure. And yeah, till here, actually, any questions? Actually, I prepared some FAQs also so that you can understand the whole idea. So yeah, just before going to FAQ, is there any questions or any hand raised? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So actually, in FAQ, I try to explain what information is captured in the assurance intent. So I just say that it is very important to understand for service assurance what we need to collect, how the correlation would happen, how the action need to be done, and the collection actually would be done by the observability in a future. And I'm sure, I spoke with Stephen also, so the collection would be ready, and we could do our work along with the observability. And then, yeah, this is okay. And I talked about the actors, the most important aspects that I'm trying to bring it. So there I say that there could be two type of actors. One is the specialized actor, and another is the generic actor. So when I talk about the specialized actor, I mean to say that they have the business logic, and they know exactly how to handle the ANF. So the best example would be the XApp. Actually, here I mentioned the rate, but yeah, actually, the best example would be the any in the RAN world. That would be the XApp or any RApp. So because actually they know how exactly to handle the certain cases in the NF and what need to be reconfigured. So you take the specialized actor are those XApp and RFs who are specialized for it. And also when I was going through the spec of ORAN Alliance, and then there I observed that there are some actors which are specialized for self healing. The SMO functionalities actually could create those specific pods related to the self healing, and they can actually restart, upgrade those NFs. So tomorrow we can work on the actor pods, and we could bring actually those functionality also. But specifically this for this use case, we are just trying to reconfigure the NF. Okay. And second part where I talked about the generic actors. So these are the tailored for some special use cases. We all know that there are a lot of deviation we face related to the NF. It might not be following the standardization, or we would like to cover some different kind of scenario, and we have some different kind of deployment. And it is not easy to cater those kind of assurance, right? So generic actors actually give us the flexibility to address those kind of scenario. For example, I would like to scale the UPA based on the certain ideas or certain algorithm. Even ML I would like to kick in. So there is generic actor would help you. Miss you deployed there, it will help you to run that business logic. You need not to actually go through any standardization. Suppose if you want to do it, and specifically for the core part, it makes sense. So yeah, these two types actually we can think around, and we have the option. You follow the standardization, or you follow the some generic some your own approach. Okay. And then I talk about how actor is deployed. Okay. So actor is one another KPT package, and it is deployed the workload cluster similar to any other operator like a free 5GC, how we deploy it, right? So similar to that, we can easily deploy it, and immediately the question will come: how I would know where the NF got deployed and the same place I'm putting my actor? Actually, actually our target NF has the one resource called workload. It has the annotations also. So those things we can query and we can understand, we can know about the workload, and we put our package in the same Git repo where the repo is responsible for the cluster, so that we can do it. And the next question I talk about: why the actor pod involved in the KPI collection, right? That's a general question. So actually, just for the R3, because we don't want to depend on the observability for time being, because they are also in a development cycle, and we are continuously giving them requirement. And I'm not saying that we would be having the logic for the observability. Observability will do its task, and parallelly we will work on to integrate service assurance with the observability. Okay. And who provides the ODU and how it will be configured, the KPI collected. So OA is actually responsible for detailing out the ODU, like how we can collect the KPI parameters and how we could configure the bandwidth. So ODU is responsible for that, and they will be participating in this user story. The next question I talked about: could actor deployed in the management cluster? So again, that is the one futuristic use case I'm thinking, where the actor pod runs in the management cluster, and it will try to build one context by seeing the different cluster information, and then it tries to talk to the some specific work cluster for taking the action. So again, it's not related to this particular use case. Will there be only one actor in assurance pool? No, I would say no. There are more than one actors could be there, which is fulfilling the different aspects of the assurance. Okay. Please feel free to stop me if you ask any question, because I'm not seeing the hands. Okay. And the last one is the most important one, where people think around, oh, how it is related to OR and architecture. Is it possible that we can compare it with the architecture? Of course, yes. You can visualize the service assurance actually as some NFO functionality, and it is doing some sort of OM functionality also, where it initiates the self-healing procedure as a actor, and also the OM and also it participates in deploying the RF and XF, where it has the business logic to handle particular NF. And also, we are configuring the NF, right? So it is doing certain aspects of OM functionality, because because generally what happens, the non-arteric asks to OM to configure certain NFs. So we are doing that role also. So yeah, of course, we can visualize. This is certain aspects of SMO we are trying to derive it here. And then comes actor. What exactly the actor is doing, right? So the OM function, which is responsible for the reconfiguring the ODU. So that part currently this actor is doing, and it is specifically documented in this specification, in this use case document of the ORN Alliance. It's like how OM configures the NF. So that functionality we are trying to capture it here. And the last one, the observability. Do you think observability play a role in this entire ORN architecture? So yeah, you can visualize in some way that it is a shared data lake, and the reference I have given it here. So in the ORN SC, they are talking about the shared data lake where we can keep all the data, and it could be shared to XApp or RApp, and they can utilize it. And how this data would be collected: either it could be done over the E2 by the E2 subscription message, or O1 also could involve there, and we can populate our data. So I tried to document actually one use case here: traffic steering. Actually, that happens over the E2, and from there we get a real-time data, and based on that real-time data, we can make a real-time decisions. So in that way, we are trying to align this solution. You can actually think like we are aligning this solution with the overall architecture also. So yeah, these 9 FAQs I try to document so that help you to understand what exactly we are trying to do in a service assurance and how it will assure your NF. So any questions still here? Yes. Okay, I take this silence that I have prepared this document with the absolute clarity. Could someone please confirm if I'm audible because I'm only talking?
You're audible.
You're audible.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. Thank you because I was thinking like
Yeah, so
I
sorry,
thought
I had to read this document again, to be honest with you, because I joined in between. So
okay.
I apologize for that, but yeah, great jobs. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, actually, it's like the continuous review helping us to refine our usage to more clearly, so that people can use this document for multiple use cases. So this we would like to make our base framework and would like to cater RAN and the core or core everyone, so they can take advantage of it. Yep. Thank you. So if there's no any question,
Hey,
okay.
hey,
Yeah,
real
Tim.
quick,
Yeah,
Subhash.
Tim.
So just real quick.
Yep.
The actor, what we talked about was the actor is going to be co-located in the same workload cluster in this thing with the ODU,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't get that with the fact. You said, hey, can this be in the management cloud? You said, sure. I'm like, hey, I don't know. I thought we talked
Yes.
about being in the same workload cluster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, for that particular idea, actually, I tried to give a picture that actor is not only limited to workload cluster. It could you have the flexibility that you can create in the management cluster or somewhere else also. So that is the futuristic just view I'm giving to you, so that you can think around more use cases on it.
Yeah, but we're deploying for release 3.
Yeah.
I'm on release 3 now. We're
Yes.
deploying the ODU and the
Yes.
actor, ODU's actor in the same workload cluster, right?
Yes. That I clearly actually I answered here. Okay. Because in this,
there you go. That's
yeah.
what I needed. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. So yeah, we have 4 minutes left, and we have one more agenda item. Shall I close this particular topic? I move on to the next one. Okay. I'll take the silence as a no, and yeah, we have just 4 minutes. So Stephen, would you like to give some updates on the observability? Like how what do you think? Like we spoke about these two scenarios, right? So do you think we are moving correctly on this? I hope Stephen should be there. Yeah, Stephen, we are not able to hear you. Okay. Stephen, we are not able to hear you. Okay. Stephen on mute. Okay. Could anyone from observability side, if they can share some thoughts before we close?
Actually, Steven had updated. He's in a loud place and cannot unmute.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So Stephen, maybe you can edit this document. I might share your thoughts so that people can read it later also. Okay. With this, we will close to end of the meeting. We have covered all 3 items, and we have another 3 minutes if any question that we'd like to discuss.
Actually, I have one thing.
Yeah.
So we had begun with, of course, the scope is NF and infra. We started like that. So the intent is on creating a ODU package, right? Deployment package.
Right.
So, but what I see at some point of time, we may need to extend it to, where exactly the, Bernard's use case fits in. See, for example, like I want this AMF plus SMF plus UPF throughput, right?
Yes.
Call it as a subnet slice.
Right.
should be, you know, always greater than 2 GB, you know, something like that.
Yes, yes.
Next time, we may need to even think on, you know, okay, if the throughput is reduced, actor pod notice that the throughput is reduced, it also needs to identify what are all the you know, dependent resources, right? Which Bernard was talking about. Have any thought on that? We are almost.
Yes. Actually, I was when I miss in introduction, I talked about this particular thought because Netfear provides a managing multiple cluster, and it is providing the context of multiple cluster, right? The best is that we understand how the resources are related, and accordingly we will try to create those actor pod with that context, that something is getting impacted, so I need to take action somewhere else, maybe someone another cluster. So once we are able to find that relationship, try to understand the impact analysis, that then also we can take advantage of this framework by introducing the actor pod, that intelligence, right? Either in a workload cluster or management cluster. So there actually, yeah, we need to we can explore more on the actor pods, just how it can help us. So currently that's my thinking. So I hope when we discuss we'll get more ideas on it.
Sure.
Yeah, but
Sure. Yeah, I somehow feel the two user stories, right, will merge in the
yes,
final essay.
yeah, of course, it's a very important. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So we are just end of the meeting, and thank you for giving your feedback, and feel free to add your comments in the document. And tomorrow I'll check this document for the work group 3 review, and hopefully we'll get our first user story. I'll start doing the implementation. And thank you, everyone, once again, and have a good day. Bye bye. And let's meet
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.